I finally get it. So Shannon and I went to go and see Sinners, I think it was 2 days ago. Unfortunately, we missed the IMAX screening and they brought it back to Lincoln Square in New York, and we missed tickets for that again. So unfortunately, we didn't get to enjoy this movie in IMAX. So we had to settle for a standard viewing of the film, which sucked in terms of like the experience. However, my opinions about the movie doesn't change. I loved Sinners. Guys, overall, the film was really positive. It was such a positive experience. I mean, I was a huge fan of Ryan Coogler. I always talk about him, and like pretty much any reason there is for me to talk about Ryan Coogler, I will. But the first movie I saw from him was Fruitvale Station, him and Michael B. Jordan and Ludwig Göransson doing the score. That trio, they've been together since college. And so watching that movie and watching pretty much every movie they have done together, the three of them after all of that, Creed and then Black Panther and just literally everything else in between, like it's been such a good journey, like witnessing that over the years. And now we get to Sinners, and it's just like another banger for him, another banger for Ryan Coogler. I mean, and just more development for Michael B. Jordan as an actor, and also Ludwig. Like, I'm a huge fan of Ludwig's music, and not only from the cinematic side of his work, but also the work that he does with Donald Glover, with Childish Gambino, because they've been doing music together for years, right? So it's been an amazing. It just seems that Ludwig seems to be a good glue for a lot of both of these people. But the movie overall felt like very fresh, very exciting. The time period that the film also took place in was also a time period that you see a lot of movies in that time period, but not specifically in the 30s. You'll see like the 20s, you'll see the 50s, you'll see the 60s, you'll see those types of eras. But like the 30s is something that isn't really touched on a lot, except for a couple of films and TV shows. You'll see the 30s kind of addressed. But the characters of Smoke and Stack, I mean, you would believe that it was two different people that Michael B. Jordan was playing. You wouldn't believe that it was the same guy. They both had the same and yet different personalities at the same time. I mean, Stack was more outgoing and a risk taker, huge risk taker, and the big dreamer out of the two of them. And then you had Smoke, who was a little bit more hardened, more of a military type of background, more serious approach. He had, a family, lost a child, had his wife and everything like that. So you could tell these are like, they're on the same wavelength, but they're very different individuals. And Michael B. Jordan really captured their personalities really well. It's like there's moments that you really love Stack's portrayal, and then you go to Smoke and you still like his portrayal too, but again, he was more on the serious side. He has some battle scars. There's a lot of depth to both of these characters, but there's a lot of depth to Smoke really as well. Like, again, the complexities he was dealing with, the perspective that he had about how he saw life and the things that they did in Chicago. There's so many things that I could break down in this film that I'm not trying to make this video super long, but yeah, there were just so many different things just from Michael B. Jordan alone, just portraying these characters. That was just really amazing. And bringing it back to Ludwig really quickly, music, I loved that music was such a big center point of this movie. Everything surrounded music. The whole narrative was based on music, right? How music is powerful, that each specific types of cultures had different people that, use music as a form of storytelling, and also bringing community together and lifting everybody's spirits up and warding off bad spirits. And in this case, sometimes maybe attracting good and bad spirits. They talked about how, Native American, African, Chinese, Indian, like different cultures, they all had different people where there was always one individual that was super connected to music, and it would draw all these different spirits. So I felt like music being a big center point of the film and the storytelling with it made the experience really good. And as a musician myself, I really appreciated that, because I love people don't really take music as seriously, but I feel like being able to see that music really is a huge part of culture and many different forms of storytelling. It's amazing, and I love that we got to see a demonstration of that. There was even a big scene in the film. I'm trying not to spoil too much of the plot details, but if you hadn't seen the movie yet, but there's specific scenes that were like, yeah, like the music was just like a big part, it was just floating around and you're seeing everybody dancing, and it was this big like ethereal experience. Like, and I really wish I got to experience that scene in IMAX. It's disappointing that I didn't get a chance to see this in IMAX at all. It was very disappointing. But even in the standard theater, I was still able to see and feel that energy through the screen. It was crazy. But apart from Michael B. Jordan, we had Miles Catton as Sammy. Like, I've never seen this actor before, but his character Sammy was such a very interesting character. I loved his tone of voice. I loved how he spoke. I love just his presence, and his character was a very, very big and integral part of this entire story. Jamie Lawson as Pearline, you know, she was also really good as well. Like, or Pearline, like her character was also a really good introduction, and the way how they meshed her character in with the rest of the cast, amazing. And Wunmi Mosaku, she has been, the first thing I ever saw her in was in Lovecraft Country, and then saw her in other things. And then you guys might have recognized her from Loki. If you watched Loki season 1 and 2, I think she played like B15 or B5, keep forgetting her name there. But she was amazing in this film as well. She brought so much heart, so much passion, so much, I mean, every role that she's ever in, you can't help but smile. She's just so good. She brings so much energy to the screen. I love seeing her act, man. This entire cast is great. And obviously Haley did an amazing job. We can't forget about Haley as well. I mean, she did an amazing job in integrating her part of the character into this movie. And that's the thing, that another thing that I really liked about this movie was it was demonstrating how family and culture doesn't always have to be the same thing. Like, we got a little bit about her background, her family came to be, and, you know, everybody's like, how is this white woman hanging out with all these black people? And, you know, and she's like, well, she's family, you know, and it's a whole thing with that. And then obviously there was a big focus also on like the Chinese American community as well, and how deep the roots are for that, like how, you know, Chinese culture is all over. I mean, even within my family in Guyana, we have Chinese Guyanese people in our family. Like, that goes way back. Like, they integrated with our family, and so we you know, Chinese communities in black communities have connected for a long time in different span. And even Ryan Coogler talked about it in an interview I actually saw on Instagram. He did an interview with someone, and they were mentioning, like, you know, the Chinese, having these Chinese people with a group of black people in a juke where it's supposed to be a black only, a place for them to vibe and chill. And Ryan talked about it as well. He talked about having like Chinese in his family, and also having like an adoptive like Chinese aunt, right? Like someone who treats him like a son in his community. And he wanted to mention that, you know, there's a lot of times in the communities that Chinese Americans and Black Americans have bonded and had their own little communities, and everybody was all kind of like part of the family. And he wanted to share a piece of his life and what he was accustomed to seeing around his personal life in the movie as well, and also taking a little bit of history that people don't really acknowledge and talk about during that time period. And he wanted to demonstrate that on screen as well. So I actually really enjoyed seeing, because again, I've seen that in my family too, and in my communities as well, being Guyanese and Guyanese American. It's like in Guyana and in the Caribbean too, like there's a lot of like Chinese stores and like people who have Chinese uncles and aunts, and even my aunt had a Chinese husband. Like, you know, it was just kind of something that we were just kind of used to seeing. So, and just naturally being part of the community in that kind of aspect, you know what I'm saying? So like there's a lot of environmental situations like that, which Ryan touched on in his interviews talking about it. So that was also just really cool to see. And then it was just amazing to just see for a brief moment everybody be so happy until just I'm gonna move to the last thing I wanted to talk about, which is like the vampires. You know, everything was all good, and then it came in the vampires. And what I wanted to say about the vampires is that I really appreciated the old yet new approach on the vampires. I was talking to Shannon, these are her words, and her words inspire what I'm about to say now. She was saying like they didn't overcomplicate the vampires. They didn't overcomplicate their portrayal. Sometimes especially in recent times when we see any type of vampire adaptation or something, it's always something really complicated. There's always this, they have so many different rules, and obviously most famously like Twilight, you know, they're not like traditional vampires in the sense there's so many rules and so many different things that they all altered with it wasn't your typical vampires, right? And then, but if you look at the classic stuff, you know, garlic, wooden stake to the heart, getting permission to enter a home, things like that. Like, they kept it pretty basic, but it made it also unique as well, because I remember asking myself more questions about these vampires. I'm like, okay, well, what are their limitations? You know, normal bullets don't kill them. Maybe silver bullets would, you know, like, what's going on? Like, why do they have to do this? Why do they have to say a certain thing? You know, and the emphasis on getting permission to enter someone's home. Like, I had so many questions, and like, even looking at it from a film perspective as well, like the way they shot everything, I loved the natural lighting that they used and the spotlights that they used to create the glow effect on the eyes that they had for the vampires. Beautiful. It was very subtle, nothing crazy, no crazy special effects or nothing. It felt like you were watching an organic film with organic film techniques and using new technologies to make things a little bit more natural as well, and not having this crazy amount of like CGI fest, crazy looking vampires. They were very simple, very not overcomplicated at all, as my wife said. It wasn't complicated. So visually, the atmosphere of the film, music, ambiance, the aura, in every aspect of the movie was there. So I finally get it, guys. I knew the movie was going to be good, but I didn't rush to go see it. I figured I was going to watch it on digital, and I regret making that choice. I regret not going to the theater and watching it in IMAX when I had the chance. I regret it. Because if you had a chance to see this movie in IMAX, amazing. So if there's a chance that you can go see this movie in the best format you can, even if it's laser or something like that at AMC or whatever, the best format that you can go see this movie in, I highly recommend go watching it in the theater before it comes out on digital, before they remove it from the theaters, just because I believe it's completely worth it. And I think you'll have a great time, guys. I think you'll enjoy this film. So anyways, that's my thoughts on Sinners, y'all. Really enjoyed this movie. Can't recommend it enough. Great film, guys. So that's it for my review. I'll see you in the next one. Clockmaster out.